Proverbs 13, verse 20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. 2 Corinthians 6, verse 14. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? Proverbs 17, verse 17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. Matthew 22, verse 39. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Colossians 3, verse 18. Wives, submit yourself to your husbands, as is fitting in the Lord. Proverbs 14, verse 1. The wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down. Ephesians 5, verse 33. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Proverbs 31, verse 10. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Proverbs 12, verse 4. A wife of noble character is her husband's crown, but a disgraceful wife is like decay in his bones.
Colossians 3, verse 19. Husbands, love your wives, and do not be harsh with them. Ephesians 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Ephesians 5, verse 28. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. Ephesians 5, verse 33. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. 1 Peter 3, verse 7. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner, and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. Genesis 2, verse 24. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Ephesians 5, verse 33. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Hebrews 13, verse 4. Marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure. For God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. Colossians 3, verse 18 to 19. Wives, submit yourselves to your husbands, as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives, and do not be harsh with them. Colossians 3, verse 14. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Genesis 2:24. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Hebrews 13, verse 4. Marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. Colossians 3:19. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Ephesians 5, verse 33. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 3 to 5. It is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control your own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in passionate lusts like the pagans who do not know God. Matthew 19, verse 6. So they are no longer two but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. Malachi 2 verse 16. The man who hates and divorces his wife, says the Lord, the God of Israel, does violence to the one he should protect, says the Lord Almighty. So be on your guard and do not be unfaithful. Mark 10 verse 11 to 12. He answered, anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another man, she commits adultery. 1 Corinthians 7 verse 10 to 11. To the married I give this command, not I but the Lord. A wife must not separate from her husband. But if she does, she must remain unmarried or else be reconciled to her husband. And a husband must not divorce his wife. Matthew 19 verse 7 to 9. Why then, they asked, did Moses command that a man gives his wife a certificate of divorce and send her away? Jesus replied, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hard. But it was not this way from the beginning. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, and marries another woman, commits adultery.